And just like that, there's a whole new day. Hey, Patriots. Hey, friends. I'm watching you in the chat room. You guys are great. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Robert Imbriali. I'll be your host today. And as usual, I've got the back door open. Lewis said he will try his best to be with us today if he can. He's been very busy. There's a lot going on. We're going to look at a little bit of the craziness that we're all experiencing here. If he can make it, he can make it. If not, he'll be with us tomorrow as things should settle down for him a little bit. But it's been a busy week, as you can imagine, just after the Truth Tour on the weekend. And, a lot of things to do. He's actually still, doing cleanup and wrap up from all of that, and a lot of meetings and that kind of thing, which, you can imagine somebody who's in a leadership position, that's the way it's going to be. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of today's show. We really appreciate you. Denise, thank you especially for bringing to my attention those last two texts you sent just a few minutes ago. And Master Baggy, thank you for sending stuff as well. I was trying to help you guys out a little bit, kind of give it a little vision of what I was trying to do with the show today. And it helped a lot. It really narrowed it down to, make it easier for, finding the content. Because that's the biggest part of this thing, is finding the content to figure out what we're going to talk about today. And it's another day, like it was yesterday and maybe even the day before, where I've got the show all planned, I know what I'm going to talk about, and then I go back in and I look and things have shifted. Narratives change. There's more information coming out. Well, that story that you're going to cover, well, that's no longer valid. That's now old news, right? We don't want to do that. The show already doesn't last more than 24 hours before a lot of the stuff is obsolete. So we certainly don't want to be putting it out as it's already obsolete. So we want to make sure we're a little bit ahead on that kind of thing. So I want to get started today by talking to you a little bit about what I'm kind of feeling here, with what's going on. And I'll give you let me just run forward here a little bit on the slide deck, but it feels a little bit like that show, House of Cards. I don't know if any of you watched that on Netflix. That was a good series. I personally, it's the only time I subscribed to Netflix and really wanted to be on Netflix. And once that was done and they canceled it, there was no longer a point for me to be on Netflix. But looking at what's going on today, it feels like that series, if you ever watch it toward the end, I think the last season, season 4, season 5, whatever, when this Kevin Spacey, who was playing the president back then, lost control. And what they were showing, protests after protests outside the White House. There was people yelling and screaming. Nobody was happy. And it was totally out of control, right? It feels like we're there. It feels like, the people have lost their ability to trust in the government. It feels like there's a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. It's bubbling over. It's building up. There's no question. And the question then becomes, so where do we go from here if the people have lost trust in the government? Where do we go? Look at the battle on the Hill for Speaker of the House, right? Same game as was back in January. It's like, vote number 1, that didn't work. Vote number 2 got worse, right? How many votes are going to go? Is it going to take 15 votes before they finally choose somebody? Who knows? But there's a lot of discord, right? There's very little in the way of agreement right now. There's a lot of discord. We're feeling it. As a population here, we are feeling it. We know things aren't right. We may not know exactly why they're not right, but we know they're not right. Okay, we got it. We know it's going to be a little bit tough before it gets a little better. But we are, and I had a conversation with somebody on Facebook this morning about this, and we are heading, I think, very quickly toward the tipping point we've all been waiting for. I mean, honestly, that's what we've been waiting for, right? We've been waiting for things to kind of go back in the other direction. They always do. No matter how cold it gets in the winter, no matter how much it snows, how much freezing rain, sleet, no matter what, there's going to come a moment where the sun comes out, the snow starts to melt, and the flowers come out again. Happens every year. Right? It's always happened that way. And I think we're going to experience that at some point, but we're in the middle of winter right now, right? And things are a little bit off the rails. It's not going to stay this way. At some point, it does shift back in the other direction, and we'll be able to breathe happily and pleasantly again. So here's where we are. This is what's going on, and that show, I think, House of Cards actually represented where we are quite well, actually. So just want to bring that to your attention as well. Before we roll into all today's content, make sure you go over to screwbiggov.com, Lewis's website, and a lot of good stuff happening over there. And you could find out on the homepage, you have all these wonderful buttons here. You could find the past films Lewis has done, Cages, and other films that he's done before. And you can also find out, where he is on social media. All the social media accounts are there. It's a little bit hard sometimes to find him on Telegram, but ScrewBigGov on Telegram, you imagine there's going to be a lot of duplicate accounts, a lot of spammy accounts, so you want to find the right one. Just click on that bottom right button there where the guy's holding all the social media icons. Click on that and it'll take you to the correct account, and you could follow Lewis on Telegram. If you want to follow me on Telegram as well, Renegade Media, I do post up all the videos and clips that we use here in this show, and because we want to seed out there, we want to plant seeds and make people understand that there's more to what's going on than the mainstream media is telling us, right? And we have a great example of that. All of you know a great example of that, of what happened with mainstream media over the past 24 hours, which was, I've never seen anything so off the rails as this. But we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about how, you can use your ability to be logical about it and commonsensical about it and not get sucked up into the moment. When you start asking questions, the narratives pretty quickly fall apart, and we're going to see how that works. So you can email me, robert@renegademedia.tv. I know a lot of you are emailing me. Thank you. I do appreciate your emails. I do read them and try to respond to as many as I can, but I get quite a few, which is fantastic because it keeps me, I get a little finger on the pulse and get to see what is happening in your world's neck of the woods. Okay. We'll get started today. We know something going on at the Capitol today, isn't there? Well, yeah. What's going on at the Capitol? Well, some people are calling it insurrection. I don't know if I'd go that far. It's protest. Clearly, it's a protest. And this lady, this wonderful, wonderful lady here, Rashida Tlaib, she gave a speech to a crowd of protesters and got them agitated and riled up enough that they stormed the U.S. Capitol building. Again, a little bit of hyperbole. I don't think they actually stormed it. That's one way of putting it. I don't see it as that, but maybe you do. But she was out there riling them. So, Travis here is asking, can we expect her to be arrested? When will we get wall-to-wall coverage? Will she be removed from the committee assignments in office? Of course not, because the GOP always takes the high road. Well, there's a lot going on, right? There's at the Capitol building, if you're not already aware, because this has been popping for the last few hours now, a pretty big protest going on over there. And, there's something going on there for sure. And you saw at the end of that clip, they are actually arresting some people. Apparently, there's more than 100 arrests already. This is good. Capitol Police are there. Apparently, you can go into the Capitol, but once you sit down on the floor, then you're subject to arrest. I didn't make the rules. I don't know. But they're protesting what? They're protesting Israel. They're saying they want Israel to have a ceasefire because of what? What happened yesterday. We talked about it. We're going to talk a little bit more about it today because it blew up in a very different way than we expected. It was kind of nice to see how quickly things get debunked, if you will, in our new society. So, here they are protesting, telling Israel, ceasefire. And, I'll go back to my comment yesterday. I think we have a lot in our own house that we need to square away first before we start worrying about what's happening. I know it sounds selfish, but it's like you got to put your mask on first before you help somebody else, right? And we're kind of in that space. We've got a lot going on in this country, crazy stuff happening in this country that we have no idea about. And so they sent our lost leader to me, he looked lost. What do you think? He didn't really know where he was. He didn't know what was going on. And this is the guy we sent over to Israel to kind of appease things and calm things down. Do you think he's making good deals over there? Do you think he's going to be the guy who's going to be behind a peace deal? He's going to broker something that there will be peace between the countries? Do you think he's the guy? Yeah, I don't think so either. Just a hunch. I don't know. I don't think he's got what it takes to be able to do that. He looked pretty lost there, right? Those eyes, there was no life in those eyes whatsoever. It was like he was completely lost. He was completely out of place. And the other leaders canceled their meetings with him. That should tell you something. No respect for this country. People don't have respect for it. We're not being led by strong leadership right now. We're being led by literally a clown show. Which is why I say we've got a lot to fix here in this country first, and we've got to do that before we strike out and try to fix things in other countries. We've got to get our house in order first, right? It's a little bit like, you clean your house. My house is going to be a pigsty. That's okay. I want your house to be clean. Go clean your house. Yeah, that doesn't really work, does it? Kind of got to set the example. And we're not doing that right now. We're certainly not doing that. We've got crazy going on in every direction. So the big news yesterday was what? And then the whole entire hospital had collapsed, and we called the story, and it was growing and growing and growing. But there was a little piece in there. I know you caught it because I mentioned it yesterday, that they already had a press release written and ready to go pretty much as soon as this happened. So it makes me wonder. This had to be planned in advance, right? They had to have planned it. Maybe this was their real false flag where they attacked themselves to give themselves, it certainly did that. You see it everywhere, right? The protests on Capitol Hill today. What is it? They're angry with Israel. Ceasefire, ceasefire. And it blew up in media. It was everywhere. How do you get a press release out before the smoke's cleared, before the dust is settled? And if there really was a building collapse like they had assumed, how would you know a casualty count? It would take weeks to sort through the rubble and figure out what really went on, wouldn't it? But they had the press release all ready to go. So maybe the failure was maybe they were trying to hit their own hospital. Maybe they're trying to do that and it failed and hit the parking lot instead. But they already had the press release. They already had the story. So might as well just run with it because that was the plan. I think maybe the plan actually backfired in that way. So you start to look at this. You've got to ask these questions. You got to be a little pragmatic about it and start asking the questions. And okay, what makes sense? What doesn't make sense? The press release was the key yesterday. How'd they get that out so quickly? I know I write press releases. I submit press releases out there. It takes a while to write them. And how would they have a number? The casualty count. They wouldn't have a number. They wouldn't have a casualty count, right? You would assume if there was an event of that magnitude that all hands on deck would be going to figure out what happened before you're submitting a press release, right? Like, hey, Joey, write a press release. Quick, get it out. Okay, that's possible. Not likely, but possible. So I started to dig into it, and you start to see all these things, and you say, okay, this doesn't make a whole lot in the way of sense, right? You start to look at, the things they're laying out, how they're laying them out, the timeline, how quickly that press release came out. It doesn't make sense that there would even be one, maybe the next day when they have more information. They're trying to tell you this before the smoke clears. So right away I said, well, something's up here. Something's up. I didn't know it would be a total false flag the way it was. It was just say the parking lot blew up a few cars, hurt a few people, I'm sure, but not the 900 they were. And then later in the day after our show was over, there was another report saying, it was 1,200 people. Right? So it just went from 200, 500, 700, 900, 1,200. It just kept going up and up and up because what was happening is all the mainstream media was catching it and they were trying to outdo each other. Right? Make the number bigger, make it more dramatic, make it more dramatic. Let's enhance the story. Let's make it a little bit worse, right? And we'll get more viewers, we'll get more clicks, and that's the kind of thing that was going on. So a lot of what we do here on this show is we don't really report the breaking news because it changes so quickly. We're looking at that today as another example. We're going through this story, and when daylight came in Gaza, and all of a sudden these videos started to come out. That whole story wiped off the face of the map. Didn't exist anymore. That was it. You're looking at that photo there. That's it. That's the damage. It was a tiny little rocket that blew up some cars in a parking lot. That was the whole thing. But it's completely, excuse the pun, blown out of proportion, right? Certainly. So where we're in disinformation, there's hyperbole, there's going to be false flags. There's not just one event. Their false flag could happen every day, right? There could be all kinds of them. So we got to pay attention to what's going on out there because,
thing.
They did. And then here is, the X-ray or the radar from there, where you can see that, the rockets were fired from this cemetery where the red dot is over the hospital where the white dot is. And they were fired over, and one of them kind of failed and didn't quite get there. So I don't know, it looks pretty convincing to me that maybe that's really what happened, and it wasn't what they were telling us. So we can put this to bed. We can move on, and they're going to be playing that game. You've been down the street before. We played this game. We know how it works, right? And they'll just do a continuing resolution. It'll be another 10 days, 30 days, whatever it is. They just kick the can down the road. They're never going to get a budget done. It's not, it's just the way it is. And, these threats of, we're going to shut down the government. Sure, go shut it down. Wouldn't be a bad thing. I think at this point, a little breather, probably a good thing for all of us, right? Oh, boy. So, yeah, he's thinking he's done. We're going to keep an eye on this because it's kind of, it's interesting. It's a little bit of a show. We get it. But it is interesting to keep an eye on it and to see where it goes. Excuse me. So, I'll watch it. I'll watch the vote tomorrow. And then, tomorrow during the show, we can talk about what happened there. Does he pull out? Does he continue to fight through? He's got 2 more dissenters than he had on Tuesday. What does he do? What's the plan? It'll be interesting, as we watch this. It's interesting to see what, we're not going to find all the backroom deals, but there's a lot of backroom deals going on with a lot of lobbyists, apparently, who are wanting these people to vote against him. So the lobbyists actually got 2 more to vote against them. They're having an impact. Well, if you vote against them, we're going to give you this, or we're going to give you that. You know what I mean? There's all these backroom deals that we know nothing about. We will never find out what those backroom deals are. But just know they're happening, okay? And we'll see what ends up happening tomorrow, because it'll be kind of interesting to see what the next step is for Jordan. Does he stay put? Does he pull his name out? Does he continue to fight? I'm interested. I want to know, because that's the kind of thing that keeps this government rolling, right? We need some battles. We need some. Okay, let's just go on from there. All right. Talk about Numi for a moment. Numi is a product here, that NutraSwish, that is a glutathione product. Glutathione is really important for your body's health, and it helps your liver do the detoxification, helps you with oxidative stress. Oxidative stress comes from everyday living. Comes from stress and the things we eat, the things we breathe, the things we drink, and you want to be able to help your body to detox and to be stronger. And if you give your body the fuel it needs to be able to do that, it knows what to do. You don't have to teach it. It already knows. It's already built in. So glutathione is a great supplement for that. Challenge with glutathione, it's hard to get into. Don't know why. It just is that way. So this is a different product. This is something you swish in your mouth. That's why it's called NutraSwish. Swish it around for 2 minutes, swallow it, and all the particles of the glutathione get absorbed under your tongue, goes right into your bloodstream, and can have an immediate impact. And you're seeing things like, wow, you can sleep better, or you recover quicker from exertion. And they added turmeric in there that helps with inflammation. So if you've got joint pain, tends to help with that. We've seen so many stories of people coming back to us and say, boy, this product is the greatest thing, and they get on it. They really, really love it. So if you haven't tried it, I encourage you to go over to this website here, renegademedia.tv/energy, and you'll find out more information. There's an article there on glutathione, what it is, why you need it, and there's links there also for you to be able to purchase this product, as it is. I'm a raving fan. I've been using it now for 4 or 5 months, and I really do love it. renegademedia.tv/energy. Okay. Back to the news. Shall we get back to it? What's going on in the bigger picture, right? We talked a little bit earlier about coming up to kind of a tipping point, and there's a lot of people who are sharing images of a lot of military gear being moved across the country on trains. First, we saw it in Utah, then we saw it in Colorado, then we saw it on the East Coast, then we saw it, right? So we're seeing a lot of that kind of movement going on. So we're not quite sure what's going on, but might be something afoot. Something might be happening. Maybe they're just planning for more of these protests to pop up, because you could see what happened, right? That fake story of the hospital being blown up, and boom, an explosion of anger. So I'm going to tell you, it's not going to take a lot, because it's there. It's beneath the surface. It's not going to take a lot to fire it up. So maybe there's preparations in place for that. I mean, they did put more fencing around the Capitol today. Guess it didn't really help. They let them in anyway. So I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. We keep seeing these images, and people keep posting them on Twitter and such about the military moving their equipment. Could be nothing. Could be planning for training exercises, or it could be something. It could be planning for, some kind of event that may be happening. We talked yesterday about that southern border being wide open and not being monitored in some areas where we don't know who's coming up. We don't know how many. We can't count. We don't know. No one's tracking it. There aren't drones. There aren't aircraft. There are no sensors. It's just open desert. Walk right across. There's no fence. There's no barrier. Maybe the only barrier is the temperature and the dryness and the heat, because it is a desert area. So, like I've been saying, we've got to keep our eyes open. We've got to pay attention to our surroundings. We've got to pay attention, especially in our neighborhoods. I think 107 had said this last year, and I think it's a really good plan to inform all your neighbors. It's like, if there's, how do you, get everyone's phone number, get everyone's, so you can text back and forth and share messages, or start a Facebook group just for your neighborhood where you can keep in touch. If there's someone in the neighborhood that doesn't belong, you all get together and you say, okay, down the street by the fire hydrant, let's go. Everyone gets together and they all go down together, find out what's going on, who they are, why are they there? And if they don't belong there, then, a little phone call to your sheriff and get them removed. That's how you're going to do it. You're going to create your cell, your safety cell, if you will. And I think that is probably where we are at this point, because we've got so many who've come in that aren't from this country and are not going to abide by the laws that we've got. And, it's questionable whether or not you're going to be able to get help from the police. They've been defunded so many places. I know here in San Diego, calling 911, you could actually wait 20 minutes on the phone before somebody answers. Forget about actually getting somebody here. It could be 20 minutes before they even answer the phone. It's crazy. But that's the way it is right now. And we have to understand that's the society we're living in. So, deep breath. We're going to have to do some things that are different. Okay. Go on to our next story. This one bothers me a little bit. Here's a fellow, Douglas McKay, who was sentenced to 7 months in prison because he was creating memes during the last election cycle. Memes. You know what a meme is, right? It's just a funny little joke, something that you don't take seriously. He was creating memes and sending them out on the internet, and now he's been sentenced. And here's one of the memes that he put out there. I thought it was kind of interesting to just look at it. Avoid the line, vote from home. Text Hillary to 59925, and this got him in trouble. And I don't know that I would go that far, but maybe, because he's got a text number there. Maybe there are people who thought they could vote from home and just text in their vote. Maybe they did think that. Who knows? But he's a meme maker. He's one of our guys, right? Meme maker Douglas McKay was sentenced in New York criminal court on Wednesday after a March conviction for conspiracy. Again, that's where we are. This is where do you hear of these kinds of things? You don't hear about them in this country. This is not something that would normally be American, right? You would hear this kind of thing where? Communist countries? Maybe. Yep, that's probably where you'd hear about it. Funny. Maybe. No, I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at this one. All right. So, RFK. This is an interesting one. This is from the National Pulse poll data, which, guys, I don't normally spend any time on polls, and this is just one I don't spend any time with either, but I thought it was kind of curious. This is an NPR PBS poll. Right away, right? Not Trump-friendly poll. So this shows third-party candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. helping secure an easy victory for President Joe Biden over President Donald Trump in a 2024 showdown. What else is the messaging here? What are they trying to tell you? Right? Listen to that. Since Kennedy announced his departure from the Democratic race to run as an independent, speculation has emerged about whom he would have more impact on negatively, Trump or Biden. So this is one little poll that says, Biden would win if RFK were in the race. Nah. You got to understand how much of a tidal wave Donald Trump has really created for himself, right? You got to understand how many people can look back at the 4 years he had and say, we were better under him. Income was better. Gas was cheaper. Food was cheaper. Wars. Mortgage rates were low. Right? You can just go down the list of all the things that you consider to be good in your life, and everything you check off the box and say, yeah. RFK, great guy. No experience in that at that level. I don't know if I would choose him as president. I don't think I would. But maybe the people who would be the ones who would rather not have Biden, but rather not have Trump as well. But that's not the plurality anymore. That's not enough to beat. You know, if you really look at the poll numbers, if you really want to look at polls, you're not seeing an accurate representation. I think if you wanted to really look at it, you'd probably see Trump up at about 80% of the population here in the country. Probably not far from that. High 70s, low 80s, you know, something like that. I'm not going to overcome that. So the poll is cute. It's a news story. It makes the news. It's something to give us to talk about. But too many of us out there, we're red pilling too many people. We really are. We're talking to so many people and letting them know, you know, where things stand. And I think the more we do that, the more we're going to realize that tidal wave is just going to grow and grow and grow. And we're going to be so tired of, you know, the stuff that we're going to be facing in the months ahead. It's going to be no contest. You're not going to go to an unknown. You're going to go to a known. So in many respects, I should say, Trump actually is running as an incumbent, right? Now, will there be an election? That's a good question. War Powers Act, and that would allow them then to cancel 2024. There'd be no election. Not going to happen. We just go on. Now, if Trump is really commander-in-chief, as many of us believe, how does that play in? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows at this point. But it certainly is an interesting thing to consider because we're going down this path now and we're getting closer and closer to, guys, something's got to happen, right? We've been talking about it for something has got to happen. And I think we're getting close. You know, I've been saying that for a while, but you know, now the signs are pointing there, and you're seeing military movement, and you're seeing, you know, there's more chatter, there's more. I don't know where you get your where you guys spend time for your feeds, but you know, you're starting to see it more and more. You know, this thing on the Capitol today, staged again, right? You know, we look at it and you say, okay, so we've got all these people protesting. You notice they're all wearing the same black T-shirt. How'd they get those T-shirts so quickly? Everyone got the correct size. They're all printed. They're all custom, right? How'd they all show up at the Capitol? Yesterday. It wasn't. It was planned ahead of time. Maybe weeks in advance. They got everyone on buses. They got everyone, bust everyone out there. And they show up. This is the day we're showing up. Maybe it's coincidental. Maybe it's not. But so much of this is theater. It's planned. So I'm just looking at this, and you know, the next story here is going to lend a little bit more credence to this idea that something's coming. This is Lake City Ammo. The plant canceled all their commercial contracts. Now, what does that mean? Lake City Ammo, who are they? Never heard of them, right? Never heard of these guys. Well, according to multiple news sources, the Lake City Ammo plant has canceled all of its commercial contracts. This means stores will no longer be able to purchase ammo from Lake City, which currently supplies 30% of civilian market for 5.56 ammunition, or 223. The Lake City Ammo plant is owned by the U.S. government, but operated by Olin Winchester. Winchester produces ammo and sells it to the government. This is a Winchester factory. When the facility is able to produce more ammo than the government requires, they sell it either to consumers or distributors. But hey, there's no war scenario going on, right? So this is interesting because what's this ammo about? This ammo is about your AR-15. This is what this ammo is for. So if you can't get ammo for it, you might have your AR-15. You've got what you have on hand, but once that's gone, you've got nothing. Okay, you could say maybe they don't want us to have it. That's one way of looking at it. Sure. The other way of looking at it is all the ammo they're making, the government's buying it all up. What do they got planned? I don't think they use AR-15s in our military that I know of. Master Baggy, fill me in. Do they? Is that what they use? Or is it the M16? Not the same ammo. I don't believe it's the same ammo. Maybe they can retool the machinery to make the ammo the military needs. Maybe. But this is an interesting story. This is another one of those, you know, here's a little dot, a data point of information, and you're saying, wow, you're not going to be able to get this ammo anymore. 30% of the supply has now been canceled. So the stores have what they have, and then when they run out, they get it from other manufacturers until, that gets eaten up too. So I'm looking at this, and it's like you're starting to build a picture, right? You're starting to see there's military movements, there's protests, there's false flags, there's all these things. And we looked at the hotels yesterday, and we see the hotels are filled with illegals. There was a video I pulled last night, and I couldn't find it this morning. I was looking for it, and there was a fellow who was at the Roosevelt Hotel, formerly the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. They painted over the word Roosevelt. And he tried to go in there, and he was stopped by what he thought was National Guard. And they said, this is no longer open to the public. Now, who is it for? Well, it's for the refugees. The entire hotel. And then he went to a restaurant next door, and the same thing. It's not open to the public. It's only open to feed the illegals that are there in New York City. So things are shifting in strange ways. So this was one of those stories that kind of adds to the whole narrative, if you will, of what we're kind of seeing as we go forward here. Interesting in a strange kind of way. All right. We have some good news. How many of you like good news? Come on, we all like good news. This Lewis found this morning. I thought this was certainly worth covering. The FDA approves a 12,000 tumors recurred or spread in more than 80% of the animals. So now they're moving over to human trials now to see, but it's approved for that. So, maybe there's some good news. Maybe we are moving in the right direction with this stuff, and maybe there's, more treatments on the horizon. I'm excited about that. That's one of the areas, like I said, I'm real passionate about natural health and healing in ways I don't want to cut pieces off. Crazy stuff. But yeah, that is promising. Thank you, Lewis, for finding. Yeah, this is the state of things, friends. This is where we are. People are just, I can't understand it. Not my generation, not my battle. So I don't really know where this is all coming from. But this is, this young generation. This is what we're up against. So stand your ground, stay strong. We're going to get through this. We're going to get to the other side. In the meantime, join us, renegademedia.tv. Get signed up, put your email address in there, and be part of the email list so we can keep you informed on what's happening. And if you haven't done so already, screwbiggov.com. Make sure you are following this Rumble channel and also the Renegade Media channel. I should start being able to put up some of the presentations from the Truth Tour tonight on the Renegade Media site. So looking forward to getting those going. I've got a few things to do before I can put them up, but should be able to put some up tonight. They're all going to be on the Renegade Media site on Rumble. So you get to kind of pick and choose the ones you want to listen to, or maybe some you want to see again. It's a little bit much to ask sometimes for someone to sit in front of a computer for 11 hours to watch the whole event. It was quite intense, and I was in front of my computer for almost 14 hours doing everything that I need to do to make that happen. So chopping them up, that makes a lot of sense, and a lot of people have been asking for it, so we're going to do that. A lot of work on my end to do it, but happy to do it because I know people get a lot of value from the people that were at the final Truth Tour number 77. All right, so what a day. We're going to keep an eye on things. We're going to keep an eye on the news, keep an eye on what's happening. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully Lewis will have some time to join us and be part of the show. We're going to be here tomorrow, and also on Friday we're going to be back with Bruce Poppy. Bruce and I will be unraveling the news. He always brings a unique perspective to things, so that'll be fun as well. I want to thank you guys for following, for being part of the fun, for your emails, your kind words. You guys are just wonderful. Thank you so much for everything, and look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. Same channel.